Hello, upper cervical doctors. Welcome to the UCM podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bill Davis, founder and CEO of UCM Practice Growth Systems. We are here to help you grow your practice, and we're very excited to talk with you once again. And this is a big one. This is a big announcement. This is a big thing that we're going to be talking about today that we've been working on the back end for over a year. You could say we've been doing this for 14 years. So it's really all been building towards this. And we are super excited to share this with you. And so, as I mentioned, I am Dr. Bill Davis. And what I want to tell you about today, I believe, is the future of upper cervical practice growth. As we've been looking at upper cervical practices and how to grow them, how to bring hope and healing to sick and suffering people for the glory of God now for 14 years, we have come to this place where we believe we have something that's going to help you more than anything else that's out there possible for an upper cervical practice. And we are super excited to share it with you. And what that is the UCM memberships are here. This is a new era of structured, stage-specific support for upper cervical chiropractors. In this podcast, we're going to walk you through why we're making this change, what it means for your practice, and how to grow to your next stage. So let's talk about the UCM memberships. So the thing to understand, this is much more than a new product. What we're proud to introduce today is the UCM Practice Growth memberships. It's a fundamentally new way to support upper cervical practices at every level. This isn't just a packaging change. It's a complete reimagining of how we deliver value. And what this is built around is the 7 growth stages of upper cervical practice framework. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, I'm sure you've heard us talk about the 7 growth stages of upper cervical practice. And so as we have investigated what each stage needs more and more and more over the years, we have developed these memberships to serve doctors in each of the growth stages in a way that's going to serve them best and help them most in the place where their practice is. This is all about the right support at the right time. It's designed to meet you exactly where you are in your practice journey, because everybody is in a different place, and that's okay. But if you can get the right help at the right time, it makes all the difference in your practice. And this is the future of UCM. This represents the long-term strategic direction for how UCM will serve the profession. So why are we making this change? Upper cervical practices have changed dramatically over even the last few years, and the tools needed to grow practices have changed too. There's some things that never change about upper cervical practice, but there's a lot of things that have. And I'll tell you, some of the things that's the biggest changes is related to technology. New platforms, automations, integrated systems. Even just the way you operate your practice with CBCT and digital X-ray and all the different, patient management software and scanning technology, all of the things that have continually gotten better and better as it relates to technology for upper cervical practice, that has changed. AI has really changed everything in many different ways. Artificial intelligence is reshaping how patients find doctors, how content gets ranked, and how practices can scale. And marketing is always changing. Patient acquisition now requires a multi-channel strategy because people's attention spans are shorter than ever. And so you've got to have dynamic advertising and outreach strategy that are precise and that effectively retarget people in a variety of different ways in order to get in front of a person and get their attention long enough to help them get the help that they need. And also patient behavior has changed. The way patients search and decide and engage with all healthcare providers looks nothing like it did even a few years ago, right? As things have changed, technology has shifted, and even the way that people make decisions, your patients, your potential patients make decisions has continually changed. And so the core insight that we have realized over the years and that we have addressed with these new UCM memberships is that every practice hits different bottlenecks. The struggles of a stage one practice, a practice growth stage one practice, are fundamentally different from those of a practice growth stage 4 practice. And applying the wrong solution, no matter how good it is, won't move the needle. And that's why different practices need different strategies. So let me give you some examples, real world examples. Hiring an associate isn't the problem if you haven't mastered patient acquisition, right? Building your team out before you have consistent new patient flow is going to add overhead without return, right? So there's a right time and there's a wrong time to add an associate to a practice. Here's another example. Leadership systems aren't the first priority if growth isn't yet predictable. Operational structure only creates leverage when there's something to scale, right? So adding, for instance, an office manager at the wrong time can actually cause more detriment than if you add it at the right time. Another example, stage 1 struggles look nothing like stage 4 struggles, right? Different stages require different conversations, different tools, different approaches, different strategies, and really different guidance. And they have a different path. All of it is different, right? So understanding where you are in the 7 growth stages and being able to get the right help for your stage is the key to growing. Now, if you don't want to grow, then you don't need to do anything, right? Because what will happen if you don't do anything is your practice will, it'll just kind of stay where it is. And, if that's where you are, I would encourage you to break through that. I'd be surprised if you're listening to this podcast, though, if that's where you are. You're listening to this podcast because you want some help. You want to learn. You want to grow. You want to help more people in your community. And that's who we love talking to. We love talking to doctors who have a big mission, have a big heart. They want to serve their community, and they want a practice that runs in such a way that can serve as many people as possible. And so that's what it's all about. How can we most effectively serve each upper cervical practice, no matter what stage you're in, with the right tools? So let's get clear on the 7 growth stages of upper cervical practice. If you've never heard this before, we'll go through it relatively quickly. And if you have heard it before, it'll be a nice refresher for you. The 7 growth stages of upper cervical practice are stage 1, which is all about building the foundation. It's the start of growth. This is not a place you want to be long-term, right? And what's the characteristic of a practice growth stage 1 practice? It's a practice that has a solo doctor who's collecting less than $20,000 per month. And that's what a practice growth stage 1 practice is, collecting less than $20,000 per month in a solo practice. Then there's stage 2. This is when you start creating consistency. And this is actually the biggest stage. There's more doctors who are in practice growth stage 2 than any other stage. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing. It just is. So what is practice growth stage 2? That's when you're collecting more than $20,000 per month. You have a little bit more stability in the practice, but you're still in solo practice, meaning the practice still relies completely on you. If you're not in the practice, then the practice isn't working. It's not seeing patients, right? And then we have practice growth stage 3. Practice growth stage 3 is when you have 2 doctors in the practice. This is when, of course, you're still collecting more than $20,000 per month. Hopefully you're collecting a lot more than $20,000 per month if you have 2 doctors. And this is where you really start scaling momentum. You have a little bit more freedom because you can leave the practice and it can operate without you. And that's the practice growth stage 3, which we want to encourage every doctor to at least get to practice growth stage 3 in your practice so you can have more flexibility, freedom, stability. You never know what's going to happen when you practice, right? You get sick, you get hurt, someone in the family gets hurt, sick, whatever. When you have another doctor in the practice, it gives you the ability to withstand some of those things. And then stage 4, this is when you're really starting to systematize growth, right? This is when you have at least 3 doctors in the practice, right? So typically it's a clinic director with 2 associates. And this is really when these practices in stage 4 are really rocking and rolling. And then there is stage 5 when you go to 2 locations, right? And obviously that's not, there's a right time and a wrong time to open a second location. And so that's stage 5. And then stage 6 is when you're really building an enterprise. You have 3 or more locations. And then lastly, stage 7. And stage 7 is where everyone ends up. And that is when you are no longer going to practice and you're leaving a legacy, right? Whether you sell your practice, whether you hopefully don't close your practice, but hopefully you sell your practice, right? And you either sell it to an associate, a family member, an outside person or investor, whatever. But at some point, you will no longer be practicing. And that's what stage 7 is all about, is that transition out of practice. So the goal isn't to compare yourself to another doctor. It's to know your next steps in prioritized order. And that's so important, because even doing the right thing at the wrong time is not good. And so making sure that you have a clarity on your growth stage and you have clarity on your actual practice and what's happening in that stage, and you have somebody that can guide you into prioritization of what needs to be done, that makes all the difference in your ability to grow and get a stronger and stronger practice. And why this framework matters is because growth can become predictable. And that's what we've seen over the years. Doctors that really get this and understand this, they have predictable growth. They have consistency in their growth. Because most of the time, many doctors are asking the wrong questions. When you don't know your stage, you tend to chase tactics that may not apply to you. They lead to wasted effort, inconsistent results, unnecessary frustration. This is, chasing the shiny object, or, I heard this doctor's doing this, and maybe I should do that. The 7 growth stages framework changes the question entirely. An old question might be something like, oh, well, what marketing should I do? Or should I do this kind of marketing or that kind of marketing? But a better question is, what does a practice at my practice growth stage need to do next? And even a better question is, what does my practice, who is in this growth stage, need to do next? Right? Because every practice is different, even within the stages. And so that's why it's so important that you can develop clear priorities, which is a big part of these memberships, is getting you to the point where you know exactly what to focus on and what to ignore at your current stage. And what that will lead to is better decisions. You can stop second guessing. You can make confident investments in the right help, in the right tools, in the right strategies for your specific practice. And what this leads to is faster progress. When you have matched support, it means fewer detours and a shorter path to your next stage. So let me introduce you to the UCM Practice Growth memberships. There's 3 tiers that are based on practice growth stage. There's Start, which is really all about building a strong foundational toolkit. There is Align, which is about accelerating your growth with integrated tools. And then there is Elite, which is when you scale your practice with premium support. So Start, Align, and Elite. Let's talk about these 3 levels of UCM membership. So just a little bit of an overview on the memberships. The old service model within upper cervical chiropractic for many, many years, all these years, it has been essentially a fixed set of tools with no clear path forward, a lot of disconnected products that you have to try to piece together yourself, a lot of generic support that doesn't really understand your practice, and no built-in strategy as your practice evolves and changes. So with this new UCM membership model, what you'll get is you're going to get a clear growth roadmap that's tied to your specific practice and your specific goals. You're going to get stage appropriate tools that are bundled together for your exact needs. You're going to get an expert guide who knows upper cervical practice and how to grow them. And you're going to get continuous improvement because UCM will continue to improve with you. And so with every one of these membership tiers, you're going to get a growth roadmap. And a growth roadmap is a clear path that's focused on your specific challenges, your practice challenges, your specific practice opportunities, and your goals. That's so important. These growth roadmaps are essential to practice growth from everything that we've learned in the last 14 years of doing this. You will also get stage appropriate tools that are built to solve the problems that you're actually facing right now, right? So not stuff that you don't need, but the stuff that you do need. You'll also have an expert guide. You're going to have our client success team who understands upper cervical practice growth. This is all we do. All we do all day long is we help upper cervical practices grow. And so you don't have to teach us about upper cervical. You don't have to teach us about how your practice operates. We understand you. We understand your practice. Also, with every level of membership, you get practice equipment discounts. And this is something that is brand new. We're super excited to be able to offer it because every practice needs a lot of the same things. And we've been able to work out with a variety of different vendors discounts that can help you save thousands of dollars on things that you need, like a CBCT or a digital x-ray or adjusting tables or posture evaluation tools and more. So the practice equipment discounts are built right into all three levels of membership. These memberships, Doc, they replace the guesswork. You get the right tools, the right support, and the right strategy all in one place for a predictable monthly investment that scales with your practice. And that's the other thing too, is we understand what practices make and how much wiggle room they have when it comes to their costs. And so we've designed the memberships to serve the stage. So at a practice growth stage 1, the membership we're going to recommend for you is less expensive than if you were in practice growth stage 2 or 3. It's a different membership tier because you need different things. And you also have a budget that's different than a doctor who's in practice growth stage 2 or 3 or 4, 5, or 6 for that matter. And so that's a big part of this too. We wanted to develop memberships that will actually serve the people that they're designed to serve. And so the big thing to continue to share with you about our company, and this has been really for the last 3, 4, 5 years, is we are more than marketing. We do a lot more than marketing. I know some people out there still call us upper cervical marketing, but there's a reason why we changed the name of the company to UCM Practice Growth Systems, and that's because that's really what we're focused on, Doc. We're not just focused on marketing. Marketing is obviously part of growing a practice, but it's not all that is necessary to grow a practice. And that's why these memberships will serve you so much more than just going out and getting a Facebook ads company or a, whatever, an SEO company or something like that, some local company or whatever, that number one doesn't understand upper cervical, but also doesn't really understand how to grow a practice effectively. And so with these memberships, what you're going to get is you're going to get a path, because this is key. Upper cervical practices, that want and need a guide and a path, they get it with these memberships. This path is designed for your specific growth stage with checklists and scorecards. You get guidance from an expert guide from our client success team to help you progress to your next stage. You're going to get proven attraction strategies that are going to help you attract the right patients at the right time for every stage of growth. You're going to get the software that you need, purpose-built technology that integrates seamlessly with your practice. And it's an ecosystem that everything's working together so you can just focus on changing lives, and your team can focus on that as well. So let's really get into these different membership tiers. So the first tier is UCM Start. UCM Start is built for practice growth stage 1. It's designed specifically for practices in the earliest and most critical stage, where the right foundation determines everything that follows. And that's what UCM Start is going to give you, that right foundation that you need. It's going to give you the tools, the systems, and the support to build momentum and move to the next stage faster. What you're going to focus on in this stage is a high level of accountability. Our team, with our practice growth stage 1 clients, meets with you weekly. And we found that a weekly touch point with each of our clients in this stage will move you out of this stage as quickly as possible, because that's the goal. We want to get you out of this stage quick and into practice growth stage 2. And so in order to do that, you've got to have specific, focused steps that you got a clear path and a guide to help you create repeatable, predictable growth. And that's going to help you really build that momentum. We're going to help you establish the right mindset, the daily rhythms and habits and systems that compound over time into a thriving practice, and the foundational systems when you put the right infrastructure in place so that growth doesn't collapse under its own weight. And so let me give you an example of this. One of our great clients, Dr. Gregory Jean-Pierre, recently on the podcast, you can go back and listen to this podcast. It was just a couple months ago, or a month ago maybe. And when he first came to us, he was in practice growth stage 1. He was collecting about $10,000 per month. And what he needed a clear path and a guide to help him create that repeatable, predictable growth. And that's what we did with him. We worked with him on a weekly basis to really fine-tune his systems and work with him on his mindset and his habits and his rhythms and his systems, and start to really build some things that are foundational for a practice to be able to grow. And then he grew, and he grew quickly, and he moved into the practice growth stage 2. And he then upgraded his membership from the Start membership to Align. And when he went to Align, then we were able to help him even more and bring more, attract more new patients and improve his team and his systems so that he knew what to do with those patients, right? Because you can get all the leads you want, you could possibly have in the world, but if you're not taking those leads and turning them into booked appointments and turning those booked appointments into patients that actually start care in your office, then what's the point, right? And so that's what we worked with him on, and we continue to work with him on, is continue to fine-tune his process. And over time, his practice got so busy that he realized that his CAs didn't have enough time to really properly follow up with leads. And so then he added on our patient booking specialist, our done-for-you booking. And so then now we book his leads for him. And that's helped him to convert an even higher percentage of leads. And that's helped him to grow even more. He's been consistently started at $10,000 a month. Now he's consistently collecting $50,000 per month in his one solo doctor practice. And he is getting ready to hire his first associate so he can move into practice growth stage 3. And we will continue to support him through that and even help him with the associate recruitment, which is another thing that we do for our doctors. So What about if you're in practice growth stage 2 or 3? The membership for you is UCM Align. UCM Align is designed for practices that have established a baseline, right? They're collecting at least $20,000 per month, and they're ready to accelerate. This is all about building an engine, a growth engine, and having the right team structure that's a high accountability, performance-based environment. You have really strong operational alignment that drives the fastest growth most practices will ever experience. And so what does UCM Align include? It's your patient acquisition systems. It's really about, once we've established that foundation in practice with START for practice growth stage 1, then it's a matter of building on top of that. Or if you come to us, obviously, if you're in practice growth stage 2 or 3, then we would start you here. And we're going to move beyond like random marketing efforts to instead have a reliable, repeatable system that's going to bring you consistent new patient flow. Because that's the key, right? You got to have consistent new patient flow in order to continue to grow through practice growth stage 2 into 3 and eventually into 4. We also help you with your team growth in this stage. We help you begin to build and develop a team that supports rather than depends on the doctors, right? You want a team that has a bunch of stars in their role who are all working together to accomplish great things together. We also really help you work on your operational alignment. We want to help you align your internal processes so that growth is supported and not sabotaged, right? You don't want the uncle principle. You want people to be able to, when a new patient is available, you want them to be able to get in to see you and in a reasonable amount of time and have a good process for moving them through the new patient process. Because that's what you want, is a practice that runs smoothly day by day. And then as this happens, then what happens is we want to see you scale your collections, right? You want to increase your revenue per patient, overall practice collections. And eventually, when you get into practice growth stage 3, you want to have more collections per doctor, right? So not just one doctor's doing all the work, but both doctors are carrying the weight of the practice and serving the patients. And this is where many practices experience their fastest and most transformative growth is with Align through practice growth stage 2 and 3. But I'll tell you, when you get to practice growth stage 4, 5, and 6, it's even more fun in many ways. And it's all about optimization. And that's when we recommend UCM Elite. UCM Elite is built for practice growth stages 4, 5, and 6. This is the doctor who has built something that is really solid and wants to continue to scale it and expand it. If you have a proven model, doc, if you get to practice growth stage 4 or 5 or 6 where you have multiple locations, this membership is designed for you if you want to continue to scale. You want to add more capacity, more locations. You want to build more leadership structure. You want to, add more associates. You want to create a practice that really thrives either with or without you. That's what Elite is all about. Also, in this level of Elite, the big thing is that the level of support we're providing you with complete end-to-end support from lead generation to lead conversion right into your calendar is unprecedented. And so, you've already built something real. And now, as long as you have the capacity, we can help you build something even better. And so, you want to compare and choose between the 3 memberships. It's all based on your growth stage, but with all 3 levels, you're going to get our practice growth roadmaps I talked about. That's specific to your stage. You're going to get stage specific tools. You're going to get our client success guides to help you. You're going to get some new 14.0 features like our in-office patient educational slideshow for your lobby, You're going to have ready to use internal and external marketing kits. You're going to get your equipment discounts that I mentioned on key equipment for your practice, like CBCT and digital x-ray and tables and posture tools, etc. You'll get an AI SEO system that will promote you and connect you as an answer on ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and Siri and etc. You'll get your patient reactivation campaign, so you can reactivate those inactive patients. So those things are included at all levels, and actually a bunch of other things. I don't have time to talk about everything, but those are included at all levels. And then when you get into, Align, then we really, we put the whole new patient acquisition systems on steroids, and you would get you a whole lot more people coming in. And we utilize our invisible lead ID in order to identify people who are searching for keywords in your area. They don't even have to visit your website. We can identify them and retarget them. If they do visit your website, we can identify them and retarget them. We run ads on Meta and Facebook and Instagram and Google. We also have our smart mailers, so we also hit them with a targeted postcard and just drive them into our patient magnet funnels, which are just phenomenal at converting people into a consultation request. And then at this level, Align and also Elite, all this is included in Elite as well, we have our 24/7 booking bot that is going to take that lead and instantly connect with them. No more problems with speed to lead, because it's an instant connection and an instant conversation that will lead to a booked appointment with our bot. And then when you get into Elite, then you get even more. This is when you get into that advanced, omnipresent new patient acquisition systems with multi-channel retargeting. We're looking at a 5x number of leads compared to Align. And that's why, again, it's only for the right practice. But not only do we get you all of those leads, but we also have world-class done-for-you booking, which will include our virtual CA, an actual person that calls all of these leads for you, our 24/7 booking bot that I mentioned earlier, but also 24/7 voice AI, so that a person can call on Sunday afternoon and book an appointment into your practice, or at 3:00 in the morning. And so the combination of an actual person that calls leads for you, our 24/7 booking bot, and our 24/7 voice AI will lead to the highest conversion of leads to booked appointments that anyone has ever seen. And then along with Elite, we also have our multi-location expansion tools. We have things that are included in that, including your initial associate recruitment program and your initial help to open a second location if you are ready for that. And so you can learn more about these over at the website. But the first thing you want to know is you got to know what stage you're in, right? In order to really understand these memberships at a more in-depth level, the first thing you got to know is you got to understand your current growth stage. And then that will also help you identify that biggest bottleneck and get your membership match. And so we created an assessment for you. If you go to ucmgrow.com/score, that's UCMGROW, grow, ucmgrow.com/score, SCORE. And when you go over there, you're going to fill out a assessment, take you 2-3 minutes, and it's going to then give you immediately, it's going to shoot it out to you by email. You'll get your current stage. It'll give you some basic bottlenecks that are based on that stage, right? This isn't going to be specific to your practice as much, obviously, as we do for our membership clients, but it's going to give you some general guidance and understanding, and it's going to give you your membership match. It's going to say, hey, since you're in this stage, this is what we'd recommend for you. You can go check it out more, book an appointment, and learn more about it. So, Doc, the future starts today. Whenever you're listening to this podcast, every successful upper cervical practice grows through stages. The challenges you face today are real, and they will change as you grow. The question isn't whether you'll face new obstacles. The question is whether you'll have the right roadmap and the right support when you do. And that's what we want to be for you, Doc, is we want to help you with a clear path and the guidance to make the right decisions as it relates to your practice. So if you want to go directly to the website and explore the memberships, you can do that. You can go to ucmgrow.com/membership. And the right support at the right stage changes everything. Your next stage of growth is waiting, Doc. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We're so excited to have you with us. And as we always say around here, go Team Upper Cervical.